Let me introduce my guest, my good friend Stephen Igor Warokka from the SSEK law firm. Stephen has a long resume. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Stephen is a supervising partner in the firm's immigration law and work permit practice, and he's been working closely with AmCham on various issues related to immigration law as we struggle to make our way through the dense forest of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we really appreciate the support that we've gotten from SSEK. Hi, Stephen, how are you?
Hi, Lin. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Today we're going to talk about immigration and the impact of various immigration regulations on foreigners who are in Indonesia or out of Indonesia but connected to Indonesia. This has been difficult for some of us to understand, but we've managed to make a go of it. How would you, Stephen, let's start with this. How would you characterize the current restrictions for foreigners on entering Indonesia? Where do we stand as of now?
Okay, Lin, thank you so much for the opportunity. Right now, the basic rule is that if expats have an ITAS or an ITAP, which is basically the limited stay permit or permanent stay permit, or if expats hold certain types of visas, such as consular visas, they are able to enter Indonesia. And this is based on the Ministry of Law Regulation number 11 of 2020. Now, of course, in the course of the COVID pandemic, there have been quite a number of changes to that policy because we do have issues or challenges, especially when it comes to expats who already have the stay permits, but they're outside of Indonesia and their permits expire. Then what happens? And luckily and thankfully, the government has been listening to the concerns from many business players and individuals, expats who are in Indonesia, the expatriates community, and they have been issuing additional policies through the circular letters by the Directorate General of Immigration to deal with these challenges. So again, principally, if an expat is coming from outside of Indonesia to Indonesia, right now, the visa on arrival, the multiple entry visa, and the single entry visa are still closed. So expats cannot travel into Indonesia using those visit visas. But if they have valid stay permits, or if they have stay permits that have expired, the government is basically now allowing them to come to Indonesia, either to continue working or to extend their stay permits.
And the way I understand it, the government has actually been quite lenient in terms of deadlines on those, I will say those of us, because I'm one of these guys, who have expired KITASs, and also people who have expired short-term visas from before the COVID. So far, everyone's been able to either stay where they are if they have to, or come home to Indonesia, or get their short-term stays extended by immigration. Nobody has been forced out of the country as far as I know.
Yeah, that's correct, Len, because again, the situation always develops by the day, not even by the month. So we never know what's going to happen tomorrow or 2 days after this. So the government, in this case, the immigration has been quite lenient in responding to the concerns and the various situations of expats, both outside of Indonesia and also those who are in Indonesia. So as you said, and you did say it very correctly, is that even expats who are already in Indonesia under the stay permits issued based on the visa on arrival or the multiple entry or the single entry or the visa exemption, or if the expat is in Indonesia based on the APEC business travel card, or if they are here for a crew visit, basically immigration is now giving them an opportunity to either extend or to apply for a new type of visit visa or limited stay visa. So yes, you're really right in saying that the government has been lenient in dealing with this situation.
One thing I wanted to mention also, as you know, you led the meeting. We had a meeting with the Directorate General of Immigration just the other day, and I want to amplify one of the things that Director Rohadi said to us. He's the Director of International Cooperation. He appealed to the foreign chambers to appeal to their embassies to please treat Indonesians who are stuck abroad in similar situations, as well as Indonesia has been treating foreigners. And I think that's something I hope people hear that and take it to heart from whatever country, because Indonesia's, as he pointed out, has not been imposing stiff fines on people. They've been waiving fines. They really have been bending over backwards to try to accommodate the circumstances of expats who are stuck in Indonesia or have other visa-related problems. So I just want to note that to people that if you're listening out there and you can get access to an embassy from your country, please, let them know that AmCham supports this and thinks that we need to do our part to try to treat Indonesians well when they're stuck abroad due to this awful virus. Everybody has to cooperate in this together.
Yeah, on point, Lynn. And if I may add, just to give a picture of how lenient the government has been, just Monday or Tuesday, which is just yesterday, immigration is now saying that the telex visa for the visit visas can be used as the stay permit, and that's never happened before, to my recollection. I mean, as far as I know, when it comes to telex visa, you have to get it at the local Indonesian embassy abroad. So there's never been a case where the telex also applies as the stay permit. And now immigration is saying as of August 24th, the telex visas can actually be applicable as the stay permits. And that's, as you said, this is something quite extraordinary from the government's perspective.
I've been in Indonesia a long time, and we've been dealing with all kinds of visa restrictions over the years, and we've been wanting something like that to happen, where there's fewer steps along the way. So that's much to be appreciated. I had a question from a company actually earlier today. There's some confusion now. This is the time of year when companies frequently change personnel, especially the senior executives. It's my understanding, well, tell me what your understanding is. You can still apply for, if you're abroad and you're coming to take up a position as a president director of a multinational, for example, you can still apply for a KITAS and be issued a KITAS. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, Lynn. It's just that there's an extra step nowadays, thanks to the COVID pandemic, which is basically obtaining the support letter from our Capital Investment Coordinating Board, BKPM. So usually in the normal circumstance, the first step in the whole process is applying for the RPTKA, which is the Expatriate Manpower Utilization Plan at the Ministry of Manpower. But due to the situation and also because of the limitations, especially set forth by the government on the entry to Indonesia, there needs to be an application to BKPM to get a support letter, and that support letter, once issued, will be copied or conveyed to the Ministry of Manpower and Dirjen Imigrasi as well, and then basically the process will go on as per usual.
This is for new KITAS, right?
Yes, for new ones. Yeah.
In a general sense, I mean, I get all kinds of questions from people inside and outside Indonesia, sometimes rather panicky. Oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Yeah.
What's your advice? What are the best steps to take to stay aware of regulations and also to figure out what you should do, especially those with expired state permits? What's your advice? What should they do if they're stuck wherever they happen to be stuck, but they need to come home to Indonesia?
Well, first advice is contact people like yourself, like contact AmCham. If you have any connections to the foreign chambers in Jakarta, That would be a good first source. And the second of all, it's always also good to keep yourself updated by going to the website of the Dirjen Imigrasi. So, Imigrasi has quite an updated website. They have a frequently asked questions list, which they just updated August 25th, which is yesterday. And they update that quite regularly, and they have it both in English and in Bahasa Indonesia. So that's actually one of the first sources that you need to go if you want to know what's going on at the moment. And then third of all, you can also go to the social media of immigration. So they have an Instagram page. I believe they have a Facebook page, which I have not used before, but Instagram I have used before. They have an administrator who's quite proactive in responding to the questions, both in the comment section and in the direct messages. So those are basically the main sources of information that people can rely on. And of course, the other tip that I would give is that usually whenever immigration issues circular letters or regulations, you're very correct in saying that people tend to panic first and they say, okay, what does this mean? What's going to happen to me? So again, it's always good to, other than reading the circular letter or documents themselves, read the frequently asked questions, because as a good example, the FAQ list that was just updated yesterday now mentions that the deadline for people who have expired ITAS or ITAP who are still outside of Indonesia to come back to Indonesia and extend their permits has been extended from September 8th to December 31st. So that is actually mentioned in the circular letter, but it's not mentioned as clear-cut as that. Because in the circular letter, it says that if there are technical problems, then you have the deadline until December 31st. But just yesterday, they updated that part, and they said that basically for ITAS and ITAP holders, you have until December 31st. So it's always good to check and recheck with the FAQ, and also to contact whoever is in contact with the officials, like for example with AmCham or with your consultants or advisors who are regularly in touch with the immigration or government institutions to really know what it means. Because even after yesterday's update, just before I arrived at this location, Lynn, as I was talking to you, I had a question from someone who asked that, okay, is the December 31st deadline for entering Indonesia or for extending the permit? Because so there was still a confusion there. And logically, I knew the answer by heart that, of course, it's for both. So extension and entrance to Indonesia is December 31st. But there's still confusion. So I directly contacted our contact at the immigration, and I mentioned our concern, and he directly said, yes, it's basically December 31st for both entering Indonesia and extending. So, yeah,
although also, for those who might take advantage of that late deadline, probably best to get into Indonesia a couple of weeks before, given that it's holiday season, takes time for the paperwork, etc. And we hope that by that time things have stabilized to the point that people feel safe coming back to Indonesia. And the circumstances right now is some companies, I won't name them, but some companies won't let their expats come back to Indonesia yet because of the spike in case numbers in Jakarta and elsewhere. It's a sad fact, but that's true. People also have to follow the guidance of their own companies.
Yeah, absolutely, Lynn. And again, never leave it to the last minute. I guess you know as well by experience, by being here, working here, just however possible, just do it in advance. So 2 weeks before is a good timing. So don't leave it up until the last minute.
I think we're just about out of time, but I want to ask you to gaze into the crystal ball a little bit, and on the basis of the experiences we've had during the pandemic and other trends, what do you see as the future trend of immigration policies in Indonesia? What can we look forward to once this crisis is over? And I have to remind myself every day that it will be over. It won't last forever.
Amen. Well, the future is still hard to see at the moment, but I would like to start from your statement earlier about our meeting with Pak Director Rohadi from Immigration. So in the end, I guess it will also heavily depend on how other countries treat Indonesians who are stuck in their countries, right? So as long as there's a reciprocal um, relationship between the countries, judging from what immigration has been doing so far, I think they will be very receptive to any input or suggestions from expats or expat communities or businesses in Indonesia, as long as Indonesians are treated at least the same in other countries. So I guess the future will be more or less surrounding that fact. At the moment, as you see and know and experience yourself, probably, um, there's always room for discussion with immigration. So I see it as a very positive sign because it's not easy because there are a lot of interests involved here. And just to have that meeting with the immigration on Monday, that was actually quite a great breakthrough that I have to say that is very, we must appreciate that, right? I mean, they are spending their time to respond to our concerns, and I think this is also good for immigration as well because they also need to know what's happening on the field. So not just from the embassies or from the government, but also from the business players who are actually experiencing this day by day. So this is also a good exercise for them because I've been also contacting my contact and I've been regularly telling them or clarifying some things with the hopes of conveying this clarification to the businesses, so to the chambers. So I think this is, hopefully, if we can keep this up in the next few months, it will be good for both of us, both the governments and the expatriates, as well as the business chambers or the foreign chambers. So the future right now, I have to say, as I mean, I don't want to be too optimistic. I mean, again, we still have a long way to go in terms of battling COVID, but at least there's a way to reach the government and to voice our concerns to the government. And the government is listening. So it's not just a one-way thing. They are listening, they are opening up, they are doing the best they can, as I can see so far, to accommodate our concerns.
Well, I would say, just to add to that, that the long-term trend, at least as long as I've been in AmCham, which is several years now, the long-term trend has really improved under Minister Lowley, the Minister of Law and Human Rights, who ultimately supervises immigration. Since President Jokowi came into office, things have gotten better. They're more streamlined. It's easier to talk to people. I was reminded of this the other day. I got a panicky phone call from somebody who's been living in Indonesia forever. He says, "Do you have a contact at immigration? I need somebody to fix up a visa." And I said, "No." No. He said, "The way it used to be." I said, "No. I think what you do is you just look at this piece of paper. I'll WhatsApp it to you. I'll email it to you. It's allowed. You can do this. It's in the rules. We just had a meeting about it." And the guy almost didn't believe me. I said, no, really, it's there. It's in the rules. You can do it. Just follow the guidance. I think he ultimately did, and he'll get the visa that he needs for whoever it was needed the visa. Anyway, do you have any last words for us, Stephen, before we sign on?
I guess in these times, just stay positive and stay creative, because just last week we were dealing with a lot of concerns and questions especially about family reunification. So for those expats whose family members are still stuck abroad and they cannot come back to Indonesia at the moment because of the visit visa restrictions, I mean, I was really happy to hear the immigration's response on Monday in our meeting that, yeah, you can, if you have these things going on, just write an application letter explaining your situation. And he even mentioned the details, right? Go to the 8th floor of the Immigration Directorate General in Kuningan and convey this to Mr. X or Mr. Y. Put in your supporting documents and we'll read it. And I think that's a pretty good sign. And I think, again, just stay positive, stay creative, and find legal ways, of course, to deal with these various issues.
Well, Stephen, I want to thank you very much for being our guest today. This has been the AmCham podcast. I'm your host, Lin Neumann, Managing Director of AmCham Indonesia. I want to also thank our staff, our AmCham wonderful staff, for helping to put these podcasts together, and remind everybody that we're produced by Indonesia in depth, and look forward to having you with us for another podcast soon. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you so much, Lynn, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Stephen.